Here's another question. The writing of history often confronts the historian with harrowing events which need to be contextualized, narrated, and interpreted for the reader. Battles, massacres, acts of torture, rape, executions, etc. Do you find it distressing to deal with such material? And if so, how do you cope with the emotional and psychological effects of dealing with it? I don't know if either of you have a...
is the answer. No, I mean... I remember after finishing Stalingrad, I mean, literally for years, quite a few years afterwards, it was very hard to look at a plate of food without thinking what that would have meant to 10, 12 people, not just one. And you can't quite escape that sort of thing. I found, in fact, that the horrors would come back to me usually several nights later, not straight away. I mean, because as a historian, you're desperate to get the material down without allowing yourself to be emotionally affected at that particular moment, so you get it down accurately. But I mean, Luba Vinogradova, I've worked with now for over 20 years, I mean, Luba was often in tears in the archives over the material we were coming across. So, you know, it's a question of sort of, in a way, of trying to sort of control yourself reasonably while you're getting the material down. But it will hit you, and usually I found in the middle of the night.
Just can't
yes,
sleep.
Actually, when I was writing about the guillotining of Marie Antoinette, the last chapter, I wrote with tears pouring down my face. And when I got to the end of it, I thought, now stop and write it again without tears pouring down your face. That is to say, the tears should be in the reader's eyes. Don't, you know, it is so terrible. I mean, even now, you know, and that was a sort of, you know, lesson I gave myself. And the other thing was, perhaps more prosaically, the problem about writing about these things. Now, I mean, Antony's not only written about it, but edited A Woman in Berlin, which that extraordinary diary. But when I was writing the Gunpowder Plot, I have to end with the execution, the limited hanging of the Catholic priests, followed by them being cut down and eviscerated, don't ask, while still alive. And it's part of the story. This is what was done to them. So the reader has every right to know that. But is it going to be, am I going to write about this? And then I had what I still think is a good idea. Sir Edward Coke, the Chief Justice, called on penalties, such as I've described, to be performed on these priests. He went into great detail. I thought, Sir Edward, you can take the responsibility. So I then quoted his speech at some length and said everything that he asked for took place. So he took the responsibility, if you see what I mean.
Yes, yes.
And that made me feel slightly better. Not very good, but better.
Yes, I mean, I'm sure it's
You
obvious
know that. I mean, you, in your books, don't you feel one...
that you shouldn't overwrite when...
Well, no, I didn't mean that. I mean, one feels so strongly.
Oh,
and then,
yes.
but one must leave the reader. Somehow one's duty, I have felt, now it's my duty to make you feel